Well, they made another one. Hello again, this is Mr. J bringing you a review of... Man, this is where my tongue stops working. Bringing you a review of Hotel Transylvania 3. Now, the first two I didn't watch in the theater. I figured they were, silly little kids shows. I didn't want to bother with them. But then I saw them on TV and thought they were okay. So, after having seen them and realizing they were okay, I decided to check out the third installment, this time in the theater. And honestly, it's consistent with the rest of the series. First, let's start with the animation. It is phenomenal. Yes, the characters are all a bit cartoony, but honestly, it was done very well. Some of the characters, like Drac, were a little too frenetic, I believe the term is. They moved around too much. Kind of like mimes, but they could talk. Especially Drac. But the sets and locations totally made up for the excessive amount of movement for the animation. Because some of the areas that they went to, like the hotel and the boat and the island, because as you can see from the poster, they are on an island, and other places, they looked like models. Like they did CG over real world models. It was just beautiful. Now, as for the acting, all the characters are true to form. If you've seen the other two films, you know that each character has their quirks, but they're good quirks. Especially Adam Sandler. His portrayal of Dracula is okay. I'd say it's a small step below Leslie Nielsen's Dracula, and he was really good. I wouldn't say he's anywhere near Christopher Lee or Bela Lugosi or even what's his face, the guy from the chicken commercials. The fried guy or whatever. That guy. But Sandler plays Dracula decently. And the rest of the cast, again, play their characters decently. The various side plots that each one went through, they were all entertaining in their own way. Now, let's go for the plot. Basically, I'm not going to spoil anything that wasn't in the trailer, so here we go. Dracula is a little overworked, and he's seeing all his friends start families of their own, be in relationships, and he's the only one whose spouse has passed on. If you've seen the first two films, you know this. And it is difficult for him. So his daughter decides to treat everyone to a vacation. I know. Ironic. The vacation guy needs a vacation. But it all works out because the captain of the boat they go to for the cruise, and don't worry, it's a midnight cruise. Everyone's able to get out of the sun when the sun rises, except for the werewolves who don't really need to get out of the sun. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So the captain of the boat ends up catching Drac's eye, and he falls for her. Like, hard. Like the stereotypical, I'm so in love I can't form a coherent sentence. That kind of trope. Of course, as it turns out, she's the descendant of Van Helsing. Yeah, that Van Helsing. No, not Hugh Jackman. No, not even Mel Brooks or Anthony Hopkins. But a really nasty jerk of a guy who seems obsessed with killing monsters. And like that Van Helsing, this woman wants to end monsters, period. Especially Drac. It's like with Hiccup in the first How to Train Your Dragon movie. She sees a vampire or a monster, especially Drac, and wants to punch him. And hijinks ensue. Can love trump hate? Can they get home before the ship sinks? Can they avoid disaster? Who knows? You'll have to see the movie. Bottom line, it's consistent with the other films in that it is kind of a kids' movie, like for much younger kids. And while there were a couple times when I did chuckle, and these were semi-adult jokes, by the way, so I chuckled, and parents would probably chuckle at some of the jokes, but this was mainly a little kids' movie, like the first two. It's not terrible, but it's nowhere near as good as Coraline or Paranorman. But then again, those movies would probably scare little kids, although, frankly, they need to be exposed to that. This is where my tongue stops working. They need to be exposed to that sort of thing and maybe cut back on the little kitty stuff. But like I said, this movie is not terrible. It's consistent with the first two films. I gave it a 3-star rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And if you're a completist and you enjoy this franchise, it's worth a look. This is Mr. J, signing out and reminding you, boats are bad. Seriously, I mean, when has there ever been a time when the boat doesn't sink? Or maybe I've seen way too many movies and TV shows where boats sink. Happy Friday the 13th.